There have been many instances where I've wondered why it is that Democrats fall for fake news stories or stories with, basically no evidence. One of the most notable instances is probably Brett Kavanaugh. There was no evidence, the witnesses refuted the claims, yet still the media pushed it. Now, I think it's fair to point out, for political reasons, it's expedient to believe dubious sources with no evidence. And I'm not going to try and pretend that Republicans don't also fall for fake news. I mean, they do, but we kind of have a lot of stories like this kind of too often. This latest news from Fox News: Maxine Waters' phone call with Greta Thunberg was apparently the work of Russian pranksters. I listened to this prank phone call, and I was kind of shocked. It is so obviously absurd to a ridiculous degree, yet Maxine Waters plays along. She goes along with it. They verified nothing, and I'm wondering, how does something like this happen? So here's what I'm gonna do. I've actually got two stories, this and an older story, and then I want to talk to you about the problem of partisanship and fake news. And yes, I actually have some data to back up that it tends to be the left listening to overt fake news for whatever reason. Don't ask me why. But I think what we end up seeing from this is that social media companies, they tend to ban and censor conservative types. They do go against the anti-war left as well. But for the most part, it is assumed, by many journalists that if the source is left-wing, it's just likely to be true. Not always. But you look at many conservative sites, and if it's an opinion site, they'll say it's fake news. And if a liberal, outlet, say, or a left-leaning outlet, I don't want to say liberal, but like BuzzFeed News puts out news, they'll say it's okay. BuzzFeed News has written absurdly fake stories and has put out ridiculously absurd and stupid things, if you were to ask me. Yet they get certified by NewsGuard, a third-party fact-checking organization, and they say, oh yeah, they handle the difference between opinion fine. The problem is, in our media landscape, the mainstream media, which is a left-wing slant, is assumed to be true, and the right-wing media is assumed to be false, even if they're both opinion pieces. That's the point. So here's what I want to do. Let's read this story because it's quite funny. Hopefully this will warm up your day, about how Maxine Waters was tricked by some Russian pranksters. And then I want to talk to you about what is the most viewed source for progressives, one of the largest and most influential sources, Occupy Democrats, which is, by many metrics, including even BuzzFeed's own metrics, fake news. So we'll read the story first. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. But of course, the best thing you can do, share this video if you would like to help me out. There's algorithms in play, and I'm going to be completely honest. I am moving the original segment I had here to my second channel because it's basically on the verge of getting banned. I can't talk about it. That's YouTube. I know a lot of people are going to freak out and they're going to say, Tim, you're giving in to censorship. That's fine. You know what, man? I don't know what you want me to do about it. Okay. Watch the segment at 6 p.m. youtube.com/timcast. You'll see it there. I cannot put it on this channel. YouTube will take it down. They already gave me a warning. I have no choice. It's either just delete my videos, stop doing work, or do something different. That being said, share this video if you want to help me out. I'm going to be launching a new show, but I'm going to tell you this right now. The censorship is bad. And that's part of the segment I want to talk about. But first, let's laugh a little bit. The story from Fox News says Rep. Maxine Waters of California appeared to have been tricked by Russian pranksters into thinking she was speaking on the phone with Greta Thunberg and that the teenage climate activist had dirt on President Trump. Vladimir Kuznetsov and Alexei Stolyarov, who go by the names Vovin and Lexus on YouTube, released audio of a phone conversation allegedly between Waters and people she believed to be Thunberg and her father. The audio was accompanied by illustrations poking fun at the conversation. The conversation began with Thunberg telling Waters that she was calling from a climate strike meeting in North Carolina where they were advocating for the protection of the fictitious, I kid you not, Chongo Islands. She asked Waters to make remarks to the meeting attendees where she showered Thunberg with praise. They're putting Thunberg in quotes. The pranksters then told Waters about a fictitious meeting she said she had with President Trump at the United Nations back in September. It was a really terrible meeting in the UN building in September with him, and I had nightmares afterwards. It was terrible, the Thunberg impersonator tells Waters. I saw him in the hallway. He was with security, and I shouted at him, sign the Paris Climate Agreement again. He came over, he leaned in towards me and said softly, listen carefully to me, little girl. You will never achieve your goal like the congressional goal trying to accuse me. Okay, what's funny about this is they're so ready to believe that Donald Trump is literally a comic book villain that he's going to lean into a little girl and say, you will never achieve your goal. Maxine Waters says, quote, he said you will never achieve your goal? Oh my goodness, Waters said with shock. Did you ask him if he could rethink signing the Paris Agreement? Is that your question? Yes, the impersonator said. He added that, you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I really wanted to push the Ukraine president to put my competitor on trial. Her supposed father chimes in. He said to her, you know, little girl, nobody believe you anyway. I will tell you the truth. I really pushed on Ukrainian president, and you know that you will never achieve your goals like those congressional fools who accuse me. So nobody will believe you. You will be on trial like my competitor. Yes, Maxine Waters says, oh my God, he mentioned the Ukrainian president? I kid you not. One of the most absurd stories I've ever heard, Greta Thunberg saying Trump comes up to her, tells her she'll never achieve her goals, and then just blurts out that the whole Ukrainian scandal is true. And apparently, Maxine Waters does nothing but believe it. Now, believe it or not, this is not the first time Democrats have fallen for an overt hoax. Adam Schiff, apparently pranked by Russian radio hosts who promised naked photos of Trump. I kid you not, this is from almost 2 years ago. How does stuff like this keep happening? Well, I'll tell you, but first, let's wrap up this story. He says, yes, he said that. And he added, nobody will believe you anyway. It's like, okay, have you ever heard this joke where people will say things like, the urban legend is Bill Murray came up to me and said, blah, 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 nobody will ever believe you, and then runs away. It's an urban legend. It's not real. The point is nobody will believe you that Bill Murray did this. How could Maxine Waters on the phone, they say like, by the way, so they go on to say they have a recording of it and that Trump did all these things. And she's like, wow. And he said, nobody will believe you. And she believes it. It's ironic. It's a paradox. The prankster also alleged that his daughter always records her speeches and had a recording of her exchange with Trump. Are you going to be in Washington anytime soon? I want you to come meet with me in Washington, Waters said. The father suggested that Congress continue with the president's impeachment and offered that the activist can make a speech on Capitol Hill, something Waters expressed interest in. This says to me something else. It's not just about whether they believe it or not. It's that they don't really stand for anything. It's just mindless nonsense. Come and give your speech for whatever reason. We're not going to verify. We're not going to fact check. We don't care. So we can argue, Occam's razor, the Democrats are extremely gullible and they'll keep falling for this stuff. Fine. But I also think it shows they literally just do not care. The father suggested that Congress continue the president's impeachment and offered the activist, so I read that already. We are working very hard. We are putting together the facts and we're going after him, Waters told the Thunbergs. We're going to try everything that we have to impeach him. Yes. And if the public knew that he talked to Greta like that, he made her cry and told her she would never achieve, this would go against him too. Oh, really? And he added that he pushed on the Ukrainian president. The prankster father reiterated, I think he didn't expect that we have a record of that. Well, you bring it to me. You tell me what day you can get there. This is ridiculous. And again, this goes back, I guess the same pranksters pranked Adam Schiff. And this was reported back in February of 2018. The top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee held an 8-minute phone conversation last year, so this is 3 years ago, with Russian radio hosts posing as a Ukrainian politician who promised to provide compromising images of President Trump. The conversation involving Adam Schiff, which took place on April 10th of last year, was first reported by The Atlantic last month. On Tuesday, the Daily Mail published purported audio of the call. In the conversation, a caller identified himself as Andriy Parubiy, the Speaker of Ukraine's parliament. In fact, Parubiy was two people, Vladimir Vovin, it's the same radio hosts from before. They've also pranked Mitch McConnell and John McCain. So again, I want to say it's not like they're only pranking Democrats, like only Democrats falling for it. During the call, Parubiy claimed that Trump met Russian model and singer Olga Buzova while in Moscow for the 2013 Miss Universe pageant, and that the two had a brief affair. She got compromising materials on Trump after their short relations. Okay, and what's the nature of the material? They said, well, there were pictures of naked Trump, the caller said, adding that Russian President Vladimir Putin was made aware of the images by Ksenia Sobchak, a Russian journalist. So Parubiy assured Schiff that he could provide records of them discussing the images. He also claimed that the former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn met with a Russian singer. On that meeting, Okupnik told Flynn, okay, I'm not going to read through all of this. The point is, it's not the first time. There's a lot of fake news that circulates. And apparently, the point I want to make here is the expedience of why they would just fall for pranks like this. Because, I mean, in this instance, there's compromising information on Trump. This proves our narrative, and there we go. So I want to do this. I want to move on and talk about why I think beyond this, there's a problem among Democrats with falling for fake news. As I mentioned, they do point out Republicans have been pranked. There are many conservatives who fall for fake news. It is true. The main story today is Maxine Waters, but I do think this plays into an ongoing narrative, so forgive me, but look at this. We've got this story, it's a file from PolitiFact. They say Occupy Democrats file. Occupy Democrats, founded in 2012, is an advocacy group created to counterbalance the Republican Tea Party and to, quote, give President Obama and other progressive Democrats a Congress that will work with them to grow the economy, create jobs, promote fairness, and fight inequality and get money out of politics. Occupy Democrats is one of the most prominent outlets that the left engages with on Facebook. Counter to that is Fox News. But I want to show you their scorecard real quick, and then I want to read for you. Even BuzzFeed criticizes PolitiFact. The scorecard shows that they only have one story that is mostly true, 4 are half true, 6 are false, 4 are pants on fire. And now the reason why I'm showing you Occupy Democrats is because of this. Let me just read for you the Wikipedia page. Its Alexa rank is trash, by the way. They say Occupy Democrats is a left-wing Facebook page, describing itself as a political organization based in the United States, founded in 2012 by twin brothers. I don't care who founded it. The motto of the organization is to provide a counterbalance to the Tea Party. They say on social media, Occupy Democrats was named the most influential progressive Facebook page in 2015 and 2017. According to a report from Newswhip, this is back in 2018, they found that the top engaged sites for the left and the left was Occupy Democrats, and the right was Fox News. Then in terms of, I don't know how they divided it, but Daily Wire was also one of the most shared news websites. But if the left is getting their information from a conspiracy meme page, and Republicans and conservatives are getting their information from, Fox News, which is just biased, but is credible news, I think we can see the problem here. They say in a 2017 feature on Partisan News, BuzzFeed News analyzed weekly Facebook segments since the beginning of 2015 and found that Occupy Democrats on the left and Fox News on the right are the top pages in each political category. This is the same findings as Newswhip. The article added that pages consistently generate more total engagement than pages of major media outlets. The organization received wide attention during the 2016 presidential primaries of the Democratic Party and was credited for having helped build support for Bernie Sanders' candidacy. In 2017, a survey among U.S. readers, it was voted the least trusted news source among American readers, just below Breitbart and BuzzFeed. So for whatever it's worth, BuzzFeed also not very credible. In their news reporting, they shared a story on Facebook and other social media platforms about Mitch McConnell's polio treatment that was unverified. In the same year, PolitiFact included Occupy Democrats in its list of fake news. In 2017, however, PolitiFact removed Occupy Democrats from a list of fake news sites, and according to the Miami New Times, admitted Occupy Democrats should never have been on the list in the first place. In 2018, the English Wikipedia deprecated Occupy Democrats as a source of fact due to its unreliability. They say CNN mentioned Occupy Democrats in an online article about identifying misleading news, citing it as an example of a website using unverified photographs and videos. The example purported to show a female being ejected by police from a restroom for not looking like a woman due to a controversial law passed in North Carolina. But Snopes.com found the footage dated to at least 2015 and provided no context as to where the woman is and why she was ejected. So let me just make this point, right? I get it. We're reading about Maxine Waters and why she falls for this hoax, and I'm not necessarily overlapping. But this is something I've pointed out time and time again. We've seen the graph, I've showed it a million times, where the left diverged from the right, and now there's no center, because if you're a moderate and you believe in real news, they're just going to call you conservative. Because as the left and the right diverge, as the left goes off the rails, reading fake nonsense like Occupy Democrats, which is the top source, according to BuzzFeed and Newswhip, you're going to believe insane things, and then sane, rational, moderate-type individuals are closer to where the Republicans are. Thus, in the mainstream, they call me right-wing. To me, it's rather mind-numbing. So I will rehash this old story from Gallup that I showed you in the past, just to show you, for one, trust in the media is not above 50%. But the scariest thing to me is this, and I've shown this before: trust in mass media by political party. We can see that among Democrats, it is above 50%. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Right now, let me do this. I'm going to be fully honest with all of you guys and say I am rushing to try and produce a segment because YouTube told me there are certain subjects I can't talk about, notably major current events, in which I very passively mention some certain subjects. In a 25-minute video, I say a couple words, and YouTube's literally telling me I cannot upload this video. I'm sorry, this is the case. I know a lot of people are going to freak out and accuse me of, bending over to censorship, but my option is to literally quit or just try and produce something. Okay, so I'm just being honest with you guys. You can still watch the segment. I think it'll be up at 6:30, youtube.com/TimCastNews. The point is, that video talks specifically about how NewsGuard, which is the third-party service I use, simultaneously gives a bunch of different outlets a certified green checkmark while they all contradict each other and say insanely opposite things. So if you're someone who is trusting the media today, and I know there are some good journalists out there, you are going to be reading contradictory information that makes no sense. A few days ago, I recorded a segment about changing demographics in America. One story from the Chicago Tribune said that Illinois had the most exodus from the state. Another story from the city.nyc said New York City had the most exodus from their state. And I'm laughing, thinking they're both certified. They're both claiming to be correct. And what am I supposed to do if different news outlets that are supposed to be credible are saying different things? And it's a very different problem that we face now with social media and censorship. And so, I hope the Maxine Waters story was fun with you, but I am really frustrated. And so I'll end on this. The left just believes the media. Well, the media is contradictory. The media pushed nonsense for years about Russiagate and other nonsense stories. And now you have independent commentary like me trying as hard as possible to come out and explain these things, and I am being suppressed because of the fake news. So welcome to the world you have created. Whatever the goal is, I have no idea, but it's causing, in my opinion, chaos. The left is following meme pages that produce fake news that make tons of money doing it. And I come on YouTube trying to say, here's the sane, rational take, and YouTube says, we are going to delete this video. You cannot publish it. So what am I supposed to do? Well, slowly, YouTube is forcing me to stop talking about certain things. And again, it's really annoying when people comment saying like, why don't you just say it anyway? What do you mean? I can't. I literally can't. If I upload this video, it will just be deleted. No one will see it. What's the point? And that's the world we're living in right now. Maxine Waters gets a phone call from some Russian people and she believes it's real. And then I try talking about certain issues involving, global affairs, which CNN and Fox News are literally talking about right now. And YouTube says, no. And I've seen the suppression from YouTube. They literally make it so that no one can see the video. It's already bad enough. So seriously, my option is to just quit. That's what YouTube wants. This is not the same game as when YouTube changes the algorithm and then people get mad the algorithm changed. That happens all the time. This is quite literally, the left is swimming in insane fake news from meme pages. Conservatives watch Fox News. It's just biased. In fact, Tucker Carlson had a great segment talking about things I can't say right now because YouTube will take it down. But even Tucker Carlson was getting praised by leftists on one of his recent segments about international issues, to say the least. If I talk about that, YouTube will take me down. So we're sitting in a world where the left can swallow memes and fake news and hoaxes and stories about like Brett Kavanaugh that literally have no evidence, that are refuted by witnesses, and they just believe it. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. They call me conservative and right-wing. Not always, but some try. Simply because the left has gone so far left and believes such insane trash that if you're a moderate who doesn't like the president, they will say, but you're closer to the right, therefore you are right-wing, because there's no center. There's none. I actually say as the left goes crazy and far left, the center actually expands. And there are now actual moderate leftists, and I mean moderate as in like people who might like Bernie Sanders, who are probably in the center compared to where the far left really is. So, look, man, I don't know what the plan is necessarily for moving forward. This was admittedly like I put this together as quickly as possible, like literally 10 minutes before it went up, because I got a notification that the segment I was planning on running about major political top trending news, it'd be deleted. So there's nothing I can do about it. So this is the best I could muster. In the future, I'm planning a new show. This channel will likely stay as it is. I will probably just, eat the losses on any segment YouTube decides to take down in the future, because my second channel is going to be changing, and it's going to be more of a general podcast where I do interviews, current topics, major news. And I'll tell you this, it's entirely likely what really ends up happening is that YouTube has made it so that, for one, you can't do this anymore. And I'll tell you why I think it's particularly targeted, because on my second channel, which YouTube knows about, I'm going to upload this video and it'll be fine. It will do fine. YouTube will not suppress it. On my main channel, if I mention mainstream news, YouTube will shut it down. I'm not kidding when I say suppress it. They remove it. It's shadow banned basically. And so they told me, you're going to be shadow banned. So this is the big problem. And I guess I'll leave it there so I don't make this one as longer than it needs to be. But I don't know what else to tell you, man. I had the story lined up. The Maxine Waters one was going to go on my second channel as a shorter segment. And I thought I would just lump it in with this story about how the left is eating up fake news. And here we are. It's entirely possible that in the coming months, my channel and many others just cease to exist. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, okay? So I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out. You will find the segment that YouTube won't allow on this channel at 6:30 p.m. youtube.com/timcastnews. And if you want to be mad about it. But if you think I shouldn't do it, I'll tell you what, I'll delete my YouTube channels outright because there's no getting around it. YouTube has said you can't cover the news. Here we are. I'll see you all at 6 p.m. and the next segment, and the censored segment, that'll be at 6:30.